Everyone thinks they know why NASA stopped going to the moon after Apollo 17 in 1972. The common answers usually involve winning the space race or budget cuts. But what if those aren't the whole story, or even the most compelling reasons? The truth behind humanity's sudden departure from our closest celestial neighbor is far more intricate and surprising than you might imagine. The Apollo program, a monumental achievement in human history, successfully landed 12 astronauts on the lunar surface. From Neil Armstrong's first step in 1969 to Eugene Cernan's final boot print in 1972, each mission pushed the boundaries of technology and human endurance. It was a golden era of exploration, seemingly unstoppable, yet it came to an abrupt halt. At its peak, the Apollo program consumed an astonishing 4.4% of the entire US federal budget. Think about that for a moment. Nearly 5 cents of every dollar spent by the government went into getting us to the moon. In today's money, that translates to an astronomical sum, far exceeding anything spent on space exploration currently. While the initial goal was clear, beat the Soviets to the moon, once achieved, the urgency dissipated. Political will, which had fueled the massive financial investment, began to wane. President Nixon, facing the Vietnam War and domestic issues, found it increasingly difficult to justify the ongoing, staggering expense of lunar missions. But was it just the money? After all, the US economy was booming in the late 60s. The true answer is rarely simple when dealing with such colossal endeavors. The decision to stop wasn't a single switch being flipped, but rather a slow, deliberate unwinding driven by multiple, intersecting factors, some of which are rarely discussed. One key aspect was the perceived diminishing returns of successive missions. While early Apollo missions were groundbreaking, each subsequent landing, though technically impressive, offered fewer firsts in terms of public excitement. The initial thrill of humanity walking on another world became, dare we say, almost routine. Scientists, while immensely grateful for the lunar samples and data, began to question the cost-benefit ratio of sending humans for tasks that could potentially be performed by robotic probes. The scientific community, though supportive, was also looking towards other avenues of exploration, like Mars or deep space telescopes. Think about it, after 6 successful landings, what truly new questions could be answered by sending more astronauts to the same few sites, or even slightly different ones? The lunar surface, while fascinating, lacked the active geological processes or potential for life that captivated scientists about other planets. Then there's the element of risk. Each mission was inherently dangerous, pushing humans and technology to their limits. The Apollo 1 fire, which claimed 3 astronauts' lives, served as a grim reminder of the peril. With public interest waning, the political cost of another potential disaster became too high. NASA itself had its sights set on a new vision. Instead of singular, grand missions to the moon, the agency proposed a more sustainable, long-term approach to space exploration. This new direction would lead directly to the development of the Space Shuttle program and the International Space Station. The Space Shuttle was envisioned as a reusable vehicle, making access to low Earth orbit more routine and affordable. The idea was to build an infrastructure in space, a stepping stone for future exploration, rather than repeatedly making epic, isolated voyages to the moon. It was a paradigm shift. Many argue that the shift to the Space Shuttle was a mistake, diverting resources from further deep space exploration. However, at the time, it represented what many believed was the logical next step, building a permanent human presence in Earth's immediate cosmic neighborhood. It paved the way for decades of scientific research. Another crucial, often overlooked factor, was the sheer logistical challenge of maintaining the Apollo program. It required a vast, dedicated infrastructure, hundreds of thousands of personnel, and an industrial base constantly producing highly specialized, single-use hardware. This wasn't sustainable in the long run. The factories, the engineering teams, the assembly lines, all built for a specific, urgent goal. Once that goal was met, maintaining such an immense and specialized apparatus without a clear, continuous mission became incredibly difficult and wasteful. The program was designed to peak, not to endure indefinitely. So, the real reason wasn't a single definitive cause, but a confluence of factors: the immense cost, the political landscape shifting after the space race victory, the perceived diminishing scientific returns, the inherent risks, and a strategic pivot within NASA towards a more sustainable, orbital presence. It was the perfect storm. Interestingly, many of the very challenges that ended Apollo are now being addressed by new technologies and approaches. Commercial space companies are drastically lowering launch costs, and international collaboration makes large-scale projects more feasible and financially distributed. This leads us to the present day, with the Artemis program aiming to return humans to the moon, and this time, to stay. Why now? What's different? The motivations are fundamentally distinct from the space race era. It's no longer about a flag-planting sprint, but about sustained presence and resource utilization. The moon is now seen as a crucial stepping stone to Mars and beyond. Its resources, like water ice at the poles, are invaluable for propellant and life support. Establishing a lunar outpost means testing technologies, refining procedures, and building the infrastructure for deeper space travel. Furthermore, a robust lunar economy is emerging, with commercial entities eyeing lunar mining and tourism. This opens up entirely new funding models and reduces the burden on government budgets. It's a fundamental shift from a purely government-led race to a broader, collaborative effort. The why behind lunar exploration has evolved. It's no longer simply about prestige or scientific discovery alone, but about building a sustainable multiplanetary civilization. The moon represents a vital training ground, a proving ground for the technologies and human systems needed to live and work off Earth. So, when you consider why NASA stopped going to the moon, remember it wasn't a failure, but a complex strategic decision. It was a reflection of the limitations of the era, the immense costs, and a pivot towards what was then perceived as the next logical step in space exploration. It opened the door to new opportunities. The moon rocks brought back by Apollo missions revolutionized our understanding of lunar geology and the early solar system. They confirmed the impact theory of the moon's formation and provided invaluable insights into planetary evolution. These samples are still being studied today, yielding new discoveries. Imagine the sheer engineering feat, designing rockets, capsules, and landers capable of transporting humans across 250,000 miles of space, landing them gently, and bringing them back safely. It pushed material science, computer technology, and human physiology to their absolute limits. The spin-off technologies from Apollo are countless. Everything from smoke detectors and cordless tools to advanced insulation and medical imaging can trace its roots back to the demands of the space program. The investment paid dividends far beyond just space exploration. Consider the psychological impact. A generation looked up at the moon not as a distant orb, but as a place where humans had walked. This inspired countless scientists, engineers, and dreamers. It showed humanity's boundless potential and our capacity for incredible innovation. The moon program also demonstrated the power of international collaboration, even during the Cold War. While primarily a US endeavor, the scientific data was shared globally, fostering a spirit of shared human achievement. This spirit is even stronger today with programs like the ISS and Artemis. Today, private companies are building rockets and spacecraft at a fraction of the cost of government agencies in the Apollo era. This radical shift in economics is a major driver behind the renewed interest in lunar missions. The moon is becoming economically viable for more than just science. The original goal of Apollo was to get there, prove we could do it, and come back. There was no long-term plan for colonization or resource extraction built into its initial mandate. That would require a completely different approach, one that we are finally developing now. Ultimately, the decision to halt lunar missions was a pragmatic one, not a surrender. It reflected the changing geopolitical landscape, evolving scientific priorities, and the enormous, unsustainable financial and logistical demands of the Apollo program. It paved the way for a more measured, systematic approach to space exploration. The moon's gravity also offers a unique environment for scientific research that cannot be replicated on Earth or even the ISS. Imagine telescopes on the far side, shielded from Earth's radio noise, or experiments taking advantage of lower gravity for material science and biological studies. The Artemis program aims to land the first woman and first person of color on the moon, emphasizing diversity and inclusion. This is a far cry from the predominantly white male astronaut corps of the Apollo era, reflecting a more representative vision of humanity's future in space. What do you think was the biggest factor in NASA stopping its lunar missions? Was it purely financial, a shift in scientific interest, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As we look to the future, the lessons learned from Apollo are invaluable. The drive, the innovation, the sheer audacity, these qualities remain essential. But now, they're tempered with a long-term perspective, an eye on sustainability, and a collaborative spirit that promises a truly permanent presence beyond Earth. If you found this exploration of NASA's lunar history fascinating, please give this video a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the universe and the incredible stories of human ingenuity. Your support helps us continue to uncover these hidden truths. Thank you for watching, and join us next time as we explore another captivating mystery of our world and beyond. The universe is full of untold stories, and we're here to bring them to you.